So Trent, T-Man, what have you
That's
been
my
eating?
nickname. Ho. Yeah, Parth, this program is more about food than cinema these days, isn't it? So much so
Exactly.
that this is a morning edition of Craft Services, the podcast. So I had to force some food into my face so we'd have something to discuss. So right here I have one small cup of coffee.
Cup of Joe.
Yeah, well put. Cool slang. What about you, bro? You eaten anything recently?
I have to correct you, Trent. It's not so much a morning program as it is an afternoon program. It's at time of recording. It's 3:36 p.m.
Well, that may be your time zone, but here, Parth, in the mountain time zone, it's only
It's still
1:36.
1:36 p.m. there. That's still not morning.
Well, I wake up at like 11:30 these days. I don't know if that makes me a war criminal, but my body just requires so much fuel. Just because
Yeah,
I'm
that actually does make you a war criminal, Trent. So I wouldn't
um
have. We
I'm
could.
just like,
I could edit this out. I'm gonna choose not to. Anyways, I had a sushi
yeah, Parth, what
burrito.
about you? Sushi burrito.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you blended two different cuisines and made them one
It's just
one
an
meal.
oversized sushi.
Tell me about it. What's inside? Who came to the party?
It's me and my friend Sophia,
Your friend.
my good friend Sophia. Don't smile at me like that. Our listeners can't see this, but we can see each other right now, and
Let
he
the
gave me a
record
little
reflect there
smirk.
was no smiling.
There was a smile. There's a little smirk as he drank a cup of Joe.
All right,
Anyways,
continue. You and your sushi deserve each other.
we went to New Brunswick, where Rutgers is, if you will.
Where we hail
Um,
from. Wait, what'd you do there? Why? School isn't in session. Remote learning is underway.
I have a photography class that I take as a
Wait, Parth,
student
Parth,
currently.
Parth, is your photography class 6 hours? Asking for a friend.
It's 6.5. Yeah.
Oh. All right, so you're in New Brunswick.
Yeah, so I'm in New Brunswick, and my friend Kate Rotunda had a reflector, which has not come in the mail yet for me. And so I went to go use hers. So we took some photos, and then afterwards we were like, little peckish, little hungry.
Mm.
So we were like, I was like, hey, you want to have a sushi burrito? She was like, yes, Parth.
That's
That's
a
my
really good
imitation.
impression.
Anybody that heard our Gone Girl episode will know that's exactly how she sounds.
It's an uncanny resemblance.
It's something
Where'd you
else.
get this from?
I think
A
it's called
restaurant?
Pokey Cafe or something.
Oh, everyone's been to the Poke Cafe at least once.
Have they?
That
Is this a joke or?
Yeah, no, no one here has ever heard of that. Wait, tell me how it was, for God's sake. We've come all this way.
Oh well, fine. It was good. It was really good. I'll say
I
it.
still want to know what's inside. That hasn't changed.
I had spicy tuna, some cucumbers, red onion, Japanese mayo, whatever that is,
Probably Japanese.
rice, white rice. Yeah.
Wow, Parth. Everything you just said was super awesome. I listened the whole time. Well, now it's time we start the program.
Cue the intro. Welcome back to Craft Services, the podcast, where we talk about the movies. Each week we discuss a film and interview a crew member of that film about their experience. This week we have the casting directors for our film for this week, Trial of the Chicago 7, and with us we got to talk with casting directors Mickie Paskal and Jennifer Rudnicke. And they were pretty cool.
Your accent really fell off at the end there, almost like it was completely fabricated.
See, the thing about that accent is it was a creative decision that I immediately regretted. So much so that I continued doing it.
Yeah, it's funny how you suffered a tragic throat injury and then that severely altered your voice, and then you just decided to bring that trauma into the episode. Um, it was like a bold decision you made, but
It was a creative
ultimately,
decision, yeah.
as we both know, it backfired in a grand fashion. And I think all we can do at this point is strongly discourage anything like it in the future. So Parth, we had an interview. Am I wrong?
That would be not incorrect.
All right. So double negative. We had an interview. It went well. It was with the casting directors of the Trials Chicago 7, which comes out on October 16th on Netflix. And here it is. Now, go listen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special interview. We have two guests here with us. We have Mickie Paskal and Jennifer Rudnicke. They were the casting directors behind the Chicago unit for the film we are talking about today. They've worked on projects such as Widows, Shameless, and our film for today, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yes. Appreciate it.
This is a special interview. We have 3 time zones, 2 guests, 1 podcast. Did you like that, Trent?
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. So I guess what we'll start with is this is your own casting business, and we wanted to ask how your company started and how you started in the casting business.
Sure. You want to go first, Mick?
You can go first. Go ahead.
Okay. Sure. So Mickie and I, we just looked at the calendar and realized we've been partners for 18 years, but it's really strange because we're only about 22 years old. And so we partnered up in 2002, and we had both been doing casting previously before that. And it's been a crazy ride. Our company casts for commercials, TV, film, print, voiceover, kind of anything if you need an actor, live events. But our main bread and butter is going to be TV, film, and commercial. So that's pretty much, kind of that. I had gone to school for theater. I was a production major, so I was a stage manager. And then I kind of got out of that and found casting.
And I'm a failed actress. I was excruciatingly bad as an actress, but loved actors and interned at a casting office and bought the business when I was 24 because I didn't know any better. So I've been there ever since.
How far did you take your career as a failed actress, and when did you know it was time to change?
Trent, yes, I will tell you. I did one day on a film, one day on a commercial, and one play, and each event was more excruciating than the one that came before. I can't really express to you. I lost my line in the commercial because a parrot actually ended up taking a dump on my shoulder, and then I panicked and I forgot my line. And then the movie, I got asked to stop doing my line because I couldn't get it out without panicking. And the play, I'm not even going to talk about.
What was the parrot on your shoulder for? Like, what was the product?
Yes,
was it pirate related?
It was unfortunately not. It was there used to be a company called Geo, car company, Geo Prism, where it was a car. And I had to say this long line about what a great car it was and that my parrot liked to ride in it. But then, like I said, the parrot had an accident, and then I started focusing on the accident on my shoulder, and I couldn't say the line. You can find it, Trent, somewhere. You're a young person. I would love to see it.
We'll do some digging.
Thank you.
So how did you get involved with our chosen film, Trial of the Chicago 7?
Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, I actually got a call about it. I swear it was 12 or 14 years ago. I think at the time Spielberg was scouting Chicago to shoot it, if I'm remembering correctly. So I had gotten reached out to about it several times. But Jen, when did this?
Yeah. So it was funny because we got this call from the producer, Stuart Besser, and it was like late April of 2019. And he was like, we are still figuring out the money, but we have all these people committed to it. They had Sacha Baron Cohen and Eddie Redmayne and all those people all ready to do it, but they didn't have like an official studio um, ready to really foot the bill, which is incredibly unusual for a film when you have all those actors, especially those, A-list actors to be on. Usually there's already some film company that is behind it. And this was a really strange thing. And he goes, so we're going to get going anyway, because we just want to make this. I've been working, and I forget how long he said he had been working on it, trying to get it made. And we were like, great, we're ready. We love it. We'll go. Let's do it. And then we didn't hear from him. And we were like, well, I guess it's not happening, or they chose somebody else, or we don't know. And then out of the blue in August, so, what is that, 4 months later, he calls and he's like, okay, we're really ready now. And they actually were. So then we really got started working on it. So yeah, it was about August of 2019. And that was when they had figured out they were going to shoot May, because originally I think when he called in August, in April, they were going to shoot, I think, all of it in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he called in August, they, at that point, whoever had kind of come up with some of the money, they had made the decision that financially it made more sense. I don't know why, to do all the like indoor things in New York or just outside of New York. So then they were going to just do all the exterior stuff. And so we just needed to then be hired to cast the actors that were going to be seen in the exterior scenes. But I do know that was like incredibly important to Aaron Sorkin, was that they try and shoot, as close to the actual locations that these things happened in, as much as possible.
Well, that sort of goes into one of our other questions, which is, you were the Chicago unit, and so how do you coordinate with the main unit, if at all, or if you're given complete autonomy in that regard?
We did a lot of communicating. Interesting what happened. LA Casting was very cool with us, and we were allowed to tape folks, not just for exterior location work. We actually ended up casting several people who ended up flying out to shoot on the East Coast. That was amazing and fabulous. And we didn't work in super close proximity. They kind of let us do our thing while they did their thing. But we could certainly run ideas by them and notions that we had. But we were fairly autonomous on it. We had kind of our mission and they had theirs.
So any of like the main actors who were seen outdoors in Chicago, was that part of like your jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Or...
So yeah. Anybody that had lines, we didn't do any of the extras, but anybody that had lines or was featured interacting, that had dialogue with any of the main folks, those were ours. I think we ended up casting, what'd you say, Jen? 20?
It was about 26 roles. Yeah, it would have been probably closer to 40 had they stayed here for the whole thing. But basically what they went and did in the Jersey, New York area was all the like interior court scenes. Yeah. But for us, we had a bunch of the riots, and a couple of the, when they go in and what's the word I'm trying to think of, break into somebody's house, and the cops break in, and what is that called? Anyway, I guess,
we've yet to see the film. We're waiting for the Netflix release.
Trying to arrest somebody.
The raids.
Raids. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it was interesting. Our stuff and all the stuff for the courtroom. It was interesting to work on a film where you're casting real people and real situations. And obviously, in 1968, these moments were incredibly iconic. So different things that kind of started some of the protests turning violent. A kid ran up one of the flagpoles, and that was one of the first instances of the cops interacting with what had been previously a very peaceful protest. But that was a real person. There was a girl that was on the shoulders that started to get approached and hassled and attacked. That was a real moment. And these are moments that people knew. And when you're working with a director who's brilliant, like Aaron Sorkin, it's a different type of casting process. You're trying historically to get these lines that were actually said correctly. And it's difficult to cast protests and riots in a studio by yourself with actors screaming like "Take the hill" was an iconic moment from this, and it's ridiculous in our time, in our studio. So with historical context as part of this process, it was a very interesting film to cast and challenging.
So you said you don't deal in casting extras, or at least they don't have to audition. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a totally different career in
Yeah.
Chicago. So there's extras casting directors.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a for real job. It's a job I could not handle. It bless them. It is, and of
Yeah.
course they historically had to cast hundreds and hundreds of people as part of these
Right.
protests.
Oh, well, I was just going to ask. One of our questions is what the casting process is like, and I had no idea that there was an entirely different. There's extras and like principals, I guess, casting.
Yeah.
So if you could describe what your process is like, and if you know, if you can give us some insight on the extra casting process as well.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, so for us, once we're, once we have the script, we'll break it down into what the roles are, and or they've given us the list of roles that they want us to cast, and we work together on a description for those people, as to not just age and gender so much, but also as to the type of qualities of the person and character of the nature of the person, I guess. And this one was a little bit different, of course, because some of these people were obviously real people. So we had to make sure that we were, keeping that in mind. I think one of the favorite, for me, I don't know, Mickie, for you, but one of my favorite roles that we cast was Allen Ginsberg. We needed to find somebody who could resemble and look like Allen Ginsberg, and we basically had two people in mind. One guy would have been amazing for it, except he was a little bit older than Allen would have been when, 1969 or 67, when this was all going on. And then there was Alan Matoski, and Alan got it. And I think that was all we showed them, right, Mick? I mean,
I think we did
in
tape
terms
a
of,
couple others just to
yeah,
have a little bit depth of field, but yeah,
yeah,
we sent
it
him
was
first.
it was very fun. So yeah, so this one was you're also like trying to, then kind of match maybe who you need to match in a real life scenario. But then so then we'll put that out to the local talent agents, sometimes to further away talent agents, but mostly to the Chicago talent agents, and they'll sort of send us submissions of who they represent that they think would be right for it. And then Mickie and I are going to narrow it down, and we're going to decide who we think really can possibly handle it. And then we're going to have those folks come into our office pre-COVID, and we're going to have them do the audition with the pages from the script, and we're going to direct them in doing that. And then we're going to send that footage off to the producers and the director and hear if they like them. So we'll probably send them, maybe in a normal situation, like for this, I think we maybe sent 5 people, for Aaron and the producers to consider. And then they could come back with and say to us like, hey, we like this person, but could you try, have them do it again, but this way? Or which I don't think that actually happened on this one, but that can happen. And or like, great, let's hire this person. Or we're not feeling any of these people, do you got anybody else? And then we kind of start that process over again. And I think, so that's kind of the main thing. It does then, in other films you then have to go through the process of getting the studio to sign off. But this wasn't that kind of situation. I mean, pretty much Mr. Sorkin wants, Mr. Sorkin gets. So, which is understandable.
Power of
So
the
if he
Oscar.
was, yeah, right. So if he liked him and he wanted him, that's who got the role. And so that's kind of, what we'll need to do for any principal casting for anything, for any film, TV, even commercial. And then the difference, like say for like extras, is going to be that those people are going to like sign up to be willing to be an extra. And the main thing that they'll have to just do is, make sure they have their height and weight and sizes and what they look like sort of registered, for lack of a better word, with that casting office, with that extras casting office. And then the extras casting office will then put out a thing to, like, they'll pull from their people that are registered with them and say like, hey, are you guys available on these dates? And then if they are, then they'll take those photos and sit down with the director or the assistant director and or producer sometimes, and then they'll narrow it down and say like, yeah, I like these faces, these people can be the extras. And then they call those people and say, okay, yeah, you're on for Thursday and Friday at this time in this location. Kind
There's
of
no
thing.
auditioning.
There's no audition. Yeah. They don't need to have had any, sort of background in acting or anything
experience
like
or
that. Yeah,
qualifications.
no.
So
No.
you're in an interesting predicament with this movie, being that it's based on real events and also recent enough to the point where some of the players could still be alive. So do you have to like honor their likeness in any particular way, or get their approval in who you cast, or have they kind of like signed that right away and it's just creative rendition?
I think for most of the characters, for most of the policemen that we ended up casting that ended up on the stand as part of the trial, I don't know if they were amalgamations of a bunch of, obviously they had to make it more concise. I think the trial was weeks and weeks. So I think those, we were less concerned with a look. They never even gave us a look. I did so much. I'm a research girl. So I spent, during the 4 months we weren't being contacted, I already started casting, trying to look up pictures, because we got the script pretty quickly, and couldn't find some of these actual cops and officers and protesters that we were casting. But I would imagine, I don't know, for main title, if they had approval or if they ran by decisions with the actual folks, I have no idea.
So as far as the casting process goes, we were wondering how long that generally takes and how long it took on this film.
Jen, what were we on this for?
Well, I was going to say, overall, for this film, as I'm losing my earbud, we got that call in August, and then I looked it up just partly out of curiosity before we got on the phone today, or got on this podcast today, and I looked our last email that we sent of any actual true business that was required was mid-October. So August through October.
I would say like 6 to 8 weeks is kind of a common film shoot. I think Widows was longer, but we had over 80 roles in Widows. So it kind of depends also on role count.
And so, sometimes, actors can get chosen very quickly, and sometimes it can go weeks. A lot of times we'll get brought on to start finding these roles that are going to be necessary and are going to shoot like during the first week of shooting and that sort of thing. But sometimes maybe what's happening is they're having difficulties locking in somebody that's one of the celebrities or something like that, and their focus sort of all gets drawn to that, and we kind of have to sort of sit and wait a little bit, and then so a lot of our actors and us sort of sit and kind of wait and hope that we know the people who are going to get it, and then we get the call and they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to go with this person and we need them tomorrow. and then we have to suddenly, make it happen. And luckily, Chicago folks are amazing, and they usually make themselves available. So it happens. It can happen really fast, or it could. So I guess there's been times where people have known for a little while that they had the role.
We were wondering how the material was selected for a scene for someone to read for an audition, whether that's like in your control or if that's coming from Lord Sorkin up above.
In this case, completely under our control. So we pulled our own sides. We worked. We were in contact with the main title casting for some of the larger roles to see kind of which scenes we wanted to focus on. But we pull our own sides.
And so how do you decide that? Just what you think is like the most gripping soliloquy for a given character?
You want to see like emotionally, yes, can the actor get there for these things? So you want to kind of almost pick the most trying scenes to do in the audition process, because you can't really do the banal ones. You won't really learn anything. So we'll we'll try to keep it cohesive. Like I said, a lot of these were, yells and protests and screams and running and battling. And so it was a very literally I'd be pulling scenes and think, well, this is actually going to be impossible to do in the studio, but it's the scene we got to do. So let's do it.
So as far as when an actor is being cast, is to what extent does the director get involved? Do they get, if at all?
Yeah, very done. We never had the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Sorkin on this. We got messages, we would get feedback, very generous feedback. But he's getting ready to direct a movie. So we did our thing. It was a very respectful situation. And like I said, we're very, very happy to get, over 20 actors on this thing. And then we have films where we're in contact and living with the director every day in our studio for 4 weeks. So every film is different. Every episodic is different.
Sorry, I'm just going to name off some of, as you know, there's a very vast cast here. So Sacha Baron Cohen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Keaton, John Carroll Lynch, Eddie Redmayne, Jeremy Strong. Did you audition with any of them, or were those like the more principal photography people?
All attached.
Okay, so that was main title, I guess?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you know their name, we didn't cast them on this film.
Okay.
I was just going to say that, and most of them didn't audition, I'm sure. Most of them were just offered the roles.
That was my next question. Thank you.
Yeah. Which is, a lovely place to be once you get to a certain level in your career for an actor, is to just be offered a role, and not have to audition for it.
So do you guys hire anyone for non-speaking roles? But like that aren't an extra, or like how do you audition for that?
Yeah, I don't know for Chicago 7 if we did, but we just finished a series, Fargo, and we, Noah likes amazing actors, and if there's a person in a diner who's sitting next to someone who's about to get taken down, that person better be just as good an actor as the person getting taken down. So yeah, that counter person to Noah is a key player in the scene, and we auditioned a lot of people for MOS roles for Fargo.
Yeah, so what I was going to say, like in terms of auditioning some of these roles that don't have lines but are going to be principals, it is a little awkward. I think we all kind of get through it together. We all sort of start off right away with the elephant in the room of like, wow, this is really weird to have to try and do this audition when we don't have any lines. And then sorry. And then so like there was a role for like what they call a smoking man, and we literally had guys walk across like our studio and like stop, do the like packing or whatever, and pretend to take out a cigarette and sit there and kind of, we would give them an idea of kind of like what they were watching out, and then be like, okay, that's gone, you can move on, and then they would kind of just keep walking, and that could literally be the whole audition.
And that was Fargo. Was Chicago 7 the young man getting his draft notice?
Yes.
So an example of
that one was really hard.
MOS scene. So in Chicago 7, and I haven't seen it yet, obviously, so I don't know if the scene made it in, but a young black man gets his notice that he's been drafted. And it was a chilling, no lines, nothing scripted. We had young actors come in and open this letter that was going to change their life, destroy their life, ruin their life, inspire their life. And take 30 seconds to read these words and let it affect what they were going to do. And that was one of the most moving auditions we had for the film. So
I've kind of forgotten about that a little bit. That was really hard.
So sometimes the non-scripted roles are the most riveting.
We were wondering, once you offer someone the part, is there any scenario where they get onto set and it isn't working out and then you have to recast, or are the decisions final for the most part?
So in the 29 years I've been casting, it has happened. People have gotten released and we have recast. It's very rare. It's very rare. And sometimes it's actor dynamics. Sometimes it's, oh God, they're 6'5" and we didn't know it. So it's for various reasons, but that very infrequently.
By the point where shooting has begun, your role is pretty much complete?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah. Then it's basically just paperwork.
I mean, this is a boring question, but like, what kind of paperwork? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. No. So there's most of the time when an actor's cast, they have us create. I mean, there's a lot of other like little approval emails and things like that you have to send and everything. But the main sort of paperwork is what they call a deal memo. And that is basically what lays out all the terms for that actor and what role they're playing and all their contact information and that sort of thing, and how much they'll get paid and what they're guaranteed. So, whether they're guaranteed one day of work or whether they're guaranteed a week of work and how much they're getting paid for that. It'll just lay out all those terms. And so those have to be sent off, and that's how they kind of generate their contracts. And there's sometimes a little bit of, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, I'd say 50% of the time there's some negotiation to be done about how to book that actor in terms of, can we give them a little bit more money? Can they maybe get a better trailer for when they are on set? Can they maybe get transportation from their home to the set? Things like that, making sure that, we have how they want to be credited on screen versus maybe their legal name. That's pretty much what's all on the deal memo. And so those will just take a little bit of time. They're not that long or anything, but it's just like, if you mess something up, it comes back to haunt you.
So when we found out we were going to be able to interview you two, we asked one of our professors, Adam Volerich, who's an independent filmmaker himself, and he wanted to ask what the process for casting an unknown is like, and how that differs from casting like somebody that's an established actor.
Well, so the key part of that question is unknown to whom? Because to me, your unknown is my person I've been working with for 4 years since they graduated from the theater program at DePaul, and I've watched them through 4 showcases, and I've seen them on stage at Steep and Timeline and Goodman. So right. Yes, what we will, I mean, our job, listen, we're, at the end of the day, we have our aesthetic and then we have our salesmanship. So we trust our opinion. I trust my aesthetic. I'm good to have a conversation with anyone to sell somebody. And to me, I would present someone never as an unknown, someone untried theatrically, feature-wise. But we've got powerhouse theater actors in Chicago, and that's why independent filmmakers, we work with a ton. I mean, that's my joy, independent film. So there's nothing I like more than sitting down with someone saying, yes, you could go with so-and-so from Community, or I can show you, 3 people that just graduated that are, phenomenal, who you need to meet. And they have been tested because they've been on stages, or they've done these other independents. So that's kind of how we would present an unknown. Our problem is our unknowns can't finance anything. So
Right.
so we always appreciate that we need we need some commodity actors, and then we need some of ours. And I think that's how we would kind of approach an independent film director, kind of from that platform.
Let us know if our research deceived us, but the internet told us that you have done casting for Shameless as well.
Yes, we've done all the Chicago casting.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So they shoot the majority of the show in Los Angeles because the main actors all live there. And then they come 2 to 3 times a year to Chicago to shoot exterior scenes. And then that's where we come in again, to get any actors that then talk with the main family, with the Gallaghers, with Kev and Veronica. So like if you see a scene, I'm trying to think, a specific one, but like there's one where there's the boys are stealing scooters, and they get into this confrontation with a mom who just comes out of yoga, like that character is somebody that we've cast. There's a scene where Fiona's got an inspector coming and looking at one of the buildings. This is a previous season, these are all previous seasons. I don't want to talk about anything that hasn't happened yet, but that is like, inspecting the roof of the building that she used to own. And that inspector is somebody that we'll have cast. So yeah, it's been a blast. And it's gotten to a point where we really, since we've been doing it for so many seasons, that I kind of play like a little game with myself of like, can I sort of pick who they're going to cast? Like I'll see other people than the people I think they'll cast. But like there's one group of auditions we were doing, and I was like, if they don't cast X, Y, and Z in these roles, like I don't know what I'm doing as a casting director. And sure enough, we showed them options, including X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z got it. Like and then it was just a blast. It was just a blast to know that happened, and that we've gotten to know their taste, and they've gotten to know that they can look to us to find what they need.
We've spoken to a few people that have worked in both film and television, and the general consensus seems to just be that television is just much, much faster. And I was wondering if in casting, if time is the only difference when working on television versus film, or if there's a slightly different approach to the process.
Pacing is definitely different. I'd say approval is really different between film and television. Jennifer, is that fair? I feel like
Definitely.
From our episodics, when you have the privilege of working with somebody like Sorkin or Steve McQueen, and even Noah Hawley on Fargo, which I know is episodic but feels very filmatic when you're casting it. They like somebody is cast. For a lot of the episodic stuff we've done that shoots in Chicago where we're casting, 15, 20 people every episode. Jennifer, am I lying if I say there's sometimes 17 points of approval?
It's unreal sometimes, all the levels you have to get of approval. Yeah. Because often what you have to do is you have to get the director for that episode's approval, and then you have to get then the main producer's approval, and then you have to get the studio's approval, and then you have to get the network's approval. And at the level, usually there's 2 or 3 producers who have to sign off, then there's 2 or 3 people at the studio, and then there's 2 or 3 people at the network.
So that makes television very different from film.
So that's,
but pacing wise, for an episodic, you've got 8 days per episode. So you read the script, you've got 2 days to prep it, you bring people in for 2 days, then the approval takes the last 3. Whereas, for film, like I said, we've got 6 weeks. They can cast everybody week by week, session by session, or for like Widows, we cast 62 people in a day. At the end, like we literally sat down with the exec producer and Mr. McQueen and we were just screaming, dancing around the office. We just got like a list of these. So it can vary, but I would say that's basically the difference between casting film and television is pacing and approval.
What was working on Widows like? What was that process like?
Best thing in the whole world.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, like, so working on Trial of Chicago 7 was amazing. For so many different reasons. One, like my mother and all my aunts and uncles and stuff like all were, they were here when that was happening and stuff. So like it was fun to be able to talk to them about that. And it was fun to know that we were working with Aaron Sorkin and on such an iconic thing and a great script, of course, and all of that. But with Widows, we had so much more interaction with Steve, and we watched him like we cast these 2 rappers, and we watched him meet them and basically decide they could handle this role or these roles, and just watch his brilliance and just be such a part of that, I guess. And I don't know, I guess that's the main thing. But Mickie, I let you sort of answer that.
I mean, I think part of the reason like I said before about casting being aesthetics and opinion, and it's at the end of the day, it's collaboration. So when you feel like a team member, that's how Steve made us feel, respected and seen and heard. He's that way with everybody. He was that way with every actor that came in. He cast most people without ever meeting them, based on asking us, can I trust them? And then we would say yes. And then he did, because he trusts the people that he works with. The actors that he did that had the pleasure and the grace of working with him in session was one of the more beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. He speaks musically. He speaks expertly. He is able to work a scene 17 different ways, all of which are valid and credible. And he doesn't allow you to know that you're working. You think you're just collaborating and making art with him. So it was a very collaborative, respectful process, and we felt that very strongly.
I have a little bit of a periphery question. So in the casting process, do people ever come in wearing like period specific clothing as if that may like give them an edge over the competition?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, it doesn't really help. It just kind of wins us out.
I was curious if there's any advantage to already being in costume.
Right. It's scary. Like when nuns walk in dressed as nuns, or we did the Playboy Club and ill-fated series for, I think, NBC, but people would just show up in Playboy bunny outfits unrequested, and that's okay. Where'd you find it? Why do you have it? Did you wear it on the L? Or you gonna wear it to the Jewel to go shopping? No, I usually recommend that people just give us a flavor of whatever it is they're auditioning for. But some people, just, you're coming as you're going full throttle, ears and tail. You're just going to go for it.
There are a few chosen success stories of that working out for no-name actors, so that you have to try.
Yes. Oh, it can work. It can totally. We have Santa's audition every season. It's about time again, and some of them will not sign in on the SAG sign-in sheet as anything other than S clause. Like they will not come out of character to tell us. Right. It makes you really angry. Yeah.
But no, I think some people will take it to a whole crazy level, and then there's the people that will be like, you know what, I think this woman would be a little more buttoned up, and it was 1940s, so I'll make sure I do my hair and maybe a little bit more like that style, and then that's amazing. That works really well. But if you're coming full Abraham Lincoln wear, it's a little weird.
Well, I guess we can start to wrap up. And one of the questions we like to ask all of our guests is how you've been able to work during quarantine and whether you've been able to cast things in quarantine. I know film production's starting to come back a little bit. And so, if you could describe how it's been.
Sure. Lonely. lonely, depressing, sad, overwhelming. We're picking back up now. So there's light somewhere, but it's been for so many reasons, a rough 5 months, 6 months here in Chicago. And we want to make this city a better place to work in for everybody. And work seems to be knocking. Actually, Jen just got a text about a pilot that's coming here.
Woohoo.
So that's the first thing I've heard.
Woohoo.
So thank you, podcast, for being it's like literally the first text I've gotten in I don't know how long. But so we feel hopeful. Unfortunately, we lost a series. We had Station 11, which I was obsessed with, is now going to go to Canada. It'll be a great series though. But hopefully more things will come and look here.
Yeah, and I think and then just on like a pure technical level is that we haven't been able to audition anybody in person. I think our last audition was March 13th.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's the exact date everything shut down, right?
We had a session, we had a fallback, and we thought about canceling it with one person at a time. We Cloroxed everything in between all the actors, but that day, that was it. We knew
that was it.
Not gonna work.
Yeah.
The beginning.
Yeah. And so now all of our auditions are self-tapes, Zoom calls.
But artists are getting really good with that now. Like we got it under control. Actors are self-taping beautifully, and we're gonna make it work.
And it's weird what you can get used to, I guess, and what you're willing to accept. I mean, I think everyone's kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing, and we still want to make art, so we're gonna make it happen. The one thing that was really nice was that Fargo, when they shut down season 4, when they had to shut down because of COVID, they still had 2 episodes to shoot, and they came back in August and were like, we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna do it. We want to get these 2 episodes shot so that we can start airing. And so they came in, I think it was like August. I think they shot August 24th through September 9th. And they basically had everybody cast because they were all cast to shoot in March. And so they just found, just used those people again. And it was like, it was funny in Chicago, it was like all eyes are on Fargo, watching them, and how are they going to do this without anyone testing positive, and how is it going to be done safely? Because if they can do it, then that was going to sort of give the green light to other shows and films to feel like they could shoot here in Chicago. And they did it. I mean, there was 6 weeks of pre-pro, and then the 2.5 weeks of shooting, and knock on wood or whatever, like not a single positive test. They tested the actors 3 times a week. They had crazy amounts of protocol happening, and it worked. And so I think it gave everybody hope that we can do this. There is a way to do it safely. Yeah.
So has Fargo, the show, always been shot in Chicago?
No, each season is, I think, shot somewhere differently, right, Mickie?
I don't know the answer to that, but this was the first. This was all Chicago.
So from what it seems to me, it kind of seems like you guys have cornered the Chicago market. So
there's some other really good casting directors here.
But is that how the casting industry kind of works? Where you only cast out of the city from which you operate. So you wouldn't cast a production that's taking place in LA or New York. For the most part,
probably not. No,
probably not.
Yeah. I mean, we work on a show called Southside. It was on Comedy Central. I believe it's moving to HBO Max now. But so for that, because everything was happening here and it's such a Chicago show, then they did have us working with the LA agents and getting the few LA people that they needed. But because it is a Chicago show, and they didn't need anybody really that wasn't already living here, so for the 10% of people that they needed, we did cast out of LA for that. But yeah, LA and New York have hundreds of casting directors that are amazing and can do that there. And I think that's pretty true of most what we call ourselves as regional casting directors, is that you kind of stick within your region.
Well, I guess, Trent, unless you have anything else to ask, that brings us to the end.
Yeah, we just wanted to thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it. It made something fun to do on a Saturday.
So that was Mickie Paskal and Jennifer Rudnicke. They worked on the Chicago unit for the Trial of the Chicago 7, which will be coming out October 16th on Netflix. So check it out to see all of their Chicago casting decisions. Thank you so much for talking with us. We'll see you later.
Welcome back.
Well, that was our interview. Thank you so much to Mickie Paskal and Jennifer Rudnicke. They were amazing. They were awesome to listen to.
We learned so much.
Yeah. So that's our show for this week. Next week we'll be discussing our thoughts on the film.
And after that,
and then after that, we may have had a special. We may have a special guest for a new film that came out.
What kind of
fairly
film?
Recent. It rhymes with Bennett.
Can I guess?
No. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We hope you guys listen to next week's episode, and
we hope you. To be frank, we hope you listen to all the episodes. We need your support.
We thrive off of the attention you give us. It's the only thing keeping us alive at this point. It's the IV needle sticking out of our arm.
More importantly, it's the sponsorship that we get from you blindly tuning into our program. So
yeah,
don't skip through those ads, please.
All right. Well, I guess see you next week, guys.